Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Tonight I am joined by someone that people are so hype about, Mr. Graham Elwood. You know him from YouTube, The Political Vigilante. You know him from touring with my buddy Ron Placone, and basically just from a lot of awesome shit and even good stand-up. I love your stand-up, watching the old ones and stuff on YouTube. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Graham. I appreciate it.
Oh, Joy, thank you for having me on the show. It's always great to saddle up with some progressives and get into it.
Yeah, because there's actually, one of the things that's interesting is that I deal a lot with people who I totally agree with on everything. And as much as I love it, it can get kind of boring in a way. But I don't agree with you on everything.
Okay.
Okay. So the one thing I saw today that I was like, oh, fuck. I'm not sure if it was today's episode, but it was definitely recent. You were talking about Bernie's age. You were saying you don't know if he should run because of his age. Well, for those who didn't see it, do you just kind of want to like reiterate your thoughts?
I was covering an article that was sent to me by one of my Patreon supporters. I have a patreon.com/Graham Elwood, and for $5 a month, you can submit an article or a topic for me to discuss. And this article was somebody who kind of claims to be a Bernie supporter that's basically saying he shouldn't run. One of the things they brought up was his age. And I was like, well, that's a valid question to ask. Do I think he's too old? I don't know. I'd love to see him run and become president. I think that would be awesome. But it's a fair question to ask. I saw Reagan's second term. I saw him have Alzheimer's when he was in his 80s, and it's a legitimate issue to ask. So I think that's a fair question to ask. The other reasons that this journalist was bringing up as to why Bernie shouldn't run, I found most of them to be pretty ridiculous. So
yeah, I read it. Yeah. I was just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, it's making no sense. And yeah, the fact that he was kind of calling himself progressive at the same time, I guess I get so salty when people say the age thing, because I'm just like, as burners, we tend to focus on policy. Like, someone will say, go Kamal, and I'll be like, really? Okay, private prisons, and, and I'll go down the line. Beto, okay, oil money, and just go like that. But when it comes to Bernie, it's like, he looks like a bum, and he's old, and, it's all these insipid, things that mean nothing.
Because
so
I
just wanted
policy. You can't blame him on policies that actually help all the. It's like Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, she's a look at the clothes she's wearing, or it's like, because her policies help everybody, so they have to call her a crazy socialist or whatever. It's really hard to argue with actual progressive populist policies, and that's why it is that I understand that a lot of people just say, oh, he's too old, and just write him off for that. I don't think that's fair, but I think it is fair to ask the question of the health of somebody who could potentially be the leader of the free world. I think that's a fair question to ask. Am I saying he's too old? I don't think so. I'd like to see him run and be president. But
well, last night he said, when he was on Fox News, he said, if I have the grassroots support, I will run. Well, come on, damn it, Bernard. You have the grassroots support. We are waiting with bated breath. Come on, dude. Like,
you called him Bernard.
Oh, I always call him Bernard because, oh my God, always. It's his son, Levy Sanders, and I have talked on the phone a lot, and he calls him Bernard. And it just, but he's like, Bernard, let me tell you. Or he'll be like, hi, Joy. Like when he calls, but he sounds exactly like him, but with a lot of fucks thrown in. It's amazing. Because I'll like forget I'm talking to Levy and just hear like fuck. And I'm just like, oh my God, Bernard's like curses a lot. Oh wait, that's not him. But yeah, I just kind of picked that up. But I mean, as far as him running, let's say he did, who would be your ideal VP for him?
I would say either Tulsi Gabbard or Nina Turner.
Yes.
Would be either one of them. If he doesn't run and the two of them ran together as president VP, I would them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like, his prior run, his VP pick was going to be Bernie or be Tulsi. I know that for a fact. So a part of me is kind of pissed he didn't announce that sooner because of the fact that we would have gotten some of those like vagina votes, you know what I mean? And that was our biggest, downfall, was that we weren't a woman. And they were set on voting for a woman. Didn't matter who. So I think if he would have announced Tulsi, I think it would have been advantageous.
Especially when they were doing everything, the Clinton campaign was doing everything in their power to paint him as a sexist. Is anything when he said, hey, wait your turn, when she was interrupting him, and there's debate rules have been set, let someone speak for this amount of time, and then you get your turn. And that, they were waiting for him to say anything. They were waiting for him to go, look, ma'am, or something. Oh, ma'am, we're all, you're aging on, anything. Like they were hoping he'd say, look, honey, they were hoping he would say something like that so they could jump over it.
And he's sexist because he talks with his hands. I'm like, look at videos from 30 years ago. He's always talked with his hands.
Like
it's so crazy.
That's Jewish. Like they're like or Italian or like I don't like it.
Yeah, seriously. I'm pretty sure only one of them was at the Women's March though, but okay. So, we're seeing actually the attacks never really stopped, but of course they're full force already, so, it seems like a consensus that progressives as a whole are like so anti-Beto. What is your theory on the whole Beto mania?
Well, I think, initially those of us that weren't in Texas following that particular race were excited that there was somebody actually going up against Cruz, right? Like that, and somebody, there was that first video that circled, that went viral of Beto, where we all went, wow, who's this guy? Okay. And he made some really great salient points to somebody that clearly looked like a sort of Texas Republican. And so we all went, oh, or many of us, and the progressives went, okay, cool. I think what has happened, especially, we saw it in this last midterm, a lot of sort of corporate or centrist Democrats took they called themselves progressive. And this is the thing that I think us actual progressives on the left are getting a little tired of, because it's that thing of like a food product saying all natural, and then the ingredients are a bunch of chemicals on the back or whatever, or it's eco. They just put eco on an appliance, and that means what? It uses 14% less electricity than the regular ones. Well, it's not a solar powered toaster. Let's be clear on what this is. So
right.
I think what progressives need to do is we need to really vet people and really see where they're getting their money from. That's the key. I don't care what their Twitter feed says, because I've seen Dianne Feinstein during the Mike Pompeo confirmation. Her Twitter feed was all, we're not for torture. We're against torture, Mr. Trump. And then she fucking voted for him. She confirmed Mike Pompeo, who's pro-torture. So that's, you got to be aware of the corporate Democratic tricks, like Elizabeth Warren. giving that Wells Fargo CEO hell and back. Oh boy, Liz, she's tough. And that video circulated. Everyone's like, yeah, Liz, you give him what for? The guy walked out of there with $124 million when he should have been in a goddamn orange jumpsuit and shackles, you know?
Yep.
So I think it's fair to hold these people like Beto, who are calling themselves progressive. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold their feet to the fire. As we should with Ocasio-Cortez. That doesn't mean overreacting and just, oh, they're sellouts. Like, I love what Ocasio-Cortez is doing, bringing up the Green New Deal. I love that she is live tweeting this freshman orientation where it's all lobbyists and no labor. And then I don't think it's right that she joined the Progressive Caucus and just rolling over for Nancy Pelosi. So that's what I get to do with a politician. I get to say, I don't like this. I like this. Has she sold us all down the river? No, I don't believe that at all. I think she's actually going to really fight. We'll see when someone offers, when, you know, ExxonMobil or somebody, or somebody gives her $100,000 campaign donation for her reelection. We'll see what happens. So we got to find out where the money is, because the thing is that we've all been burned by, well, for me, I'll just speak for myself. So I worked in Obama's campaign in 2008. I voted for him twice. And I really believed he was going to bring the hope and change that he said he would. I thought he was going to be like FDR. I thought he was going to, you know, pull us out of Iraq and Afghanistan, two countries I had been to as a comedian and seen it and talked to soldiers and talked to young men and women who were like, well, I had to re-enlist for the $20,000 bonus. There's no jobs back in my town. I've seen wounded soldiers. I've seen flag draped coffins. And Obama told me he was going to fix this. He was going to fix the mortgage crisis. And he didn't. He bailed them out. He didn't prosecute anybody. And he made it worse. I lost my home as a result of him. So I'm done with falling for this. And I have a handful of purity tests. And one of them is, you better not take money from these big corporate, big pharma, oil, you know, the medical industry, the military industrial complex, telecom. I'm sorry, if you're taking money from any of those, I'm done, because I know you just told me who you are then. So that's that with Beto.
Absolutely. I interviewed over 100 2018 candidates. And so it was like, I work full time, but I was still doing up to 8 shows a week. But I had litmus tests. A, vote for Bernie in the primary. You didn't, you're not coming on. B, money out of politics, Medicare for all. Like, you have to have these things. And I would get these recommendations and people would be like, oh, but they're more progressive than who they're running. Dude, it's not a sliding scale. You're progressive or you're not.
That's the lesser of two evils bullshit is why we have Trump. So I'm done with that. I heard 8 years of anybody but Bush. I heard that for 8 years.
Yep.
So I'm not falling for it. And Kamala Harris is another version of that.
She's another one, that's for sure. Well, okay, did you see the other day how that girl was like, yes, queen? And then she was like, sit, Bernie, sit down, sit. And I'm like, she's talking to a man like he's a dog and his relatives were killed in the Holocaust. Like, that is, like, I just couldn't get over it. And she's like, yes, queen. And I'm like, dude, if we called Bernie our king, oh my God. That, you know, so this Kamala Harris, I schooled her yesterday a couple times because I'm sure she didn't see it, but, you know, she was like, we must, you know, legalize marijuana and stuff. And I was like, well, how will you get your money from your for-profit prisons then? I mean, like, do your research. Don't get excited about it. But everyone in the comments, oh my God, you're so right. You're amazing. I'm voting for you. And do your research. Stacey Abrams, another one. People kept asking me to have her on. All you got to do is look it up and see she took $73,000 from Soros. She's not coming on. Like, these things, like, and before you like endorse someone, it's not even like you know, if you can vote for whoever, I don't give a shit. It's not my business. But if you're going to endorse and promote someone and just be like, they're progressive, the first thing I do is look at their donation history. First thing. Because people were so convinced, and she's taken donations from Hillary and stuff, and that's another red flag. So, but then you bring it up and you throw, you know, show screenshots. Oh my God, it is not pretty. Do you get the attacks too if you're like, you know, fuck Beto, and then the army comes out and it's like, ah?
Yeah, I mean, I get some of that. I think the last 1.5 to 2 years of doing my show, Political Vigilante, I decided I made a choice. My Twitter is going to be where I talk my politics, and Instagram is going to be where I'm going to just show photos of shows and surfing or whatever. Like, and so I started going hard. So I think I lost some followers, and then I picked up a bunch more. So I get some of that, but not a lot. Because I read, what I do too is I retweet like people like Abby Martin and Sarah Abdullah, who just eviscerate the Obama and Hillary for the awful stuff they've done in the Middle East.
Yes.
And so I kind of do it because I know if I do it sometimes I know I'll do it. I'll hear the, oh, shut up, white guy, you just hate powerful women, or you're racist or whatever. So I go, well, here's a Middle Eastern woman who is calling them out. Do you want to talk to her about this? Do you want to call, what are you going to call her? You know? So that's what I try to do. And every once in a while when I get those folks, I really check to see how many Twitter followers they have. If they don't have a lot of Twitter followers, I don't really argue with them. If they're no, then all right, let's get into this. But if it usually, because I notice a lot of people, they'll have, you know, 26 Twitter followers, and they're trying to fight with me to get me to retweet and fight. So they'll pick up their
Exactly. Well, I just joined last week, so I only have like 400 or something. So don't judge me. But I mean, like, as far as let's see who. Okay, Biden. There's another gem. What are your thoughts? And he's only 1 year difference than Bernie in age.
Biden is just like, I mean, you know, he basically said, I'm the most qualified to run, to be president. Like, yeah, you're the most qualified to run this, you know, kleptocracy run by oligarchs. Sure, you're the most qualified to do that. You know, I mean, look, man, he was in the White House for 8 years. So he helped Obama take us from 2 wars to 7. He helped Secretary Clinton and Obama. All of them bombed the shit out of everybody. They, you know, killing Gaddafi. Gaddafi, not a good guy, but look at the power vacuum that happened as a result. There's open slave markets in Libya from taking him out. And weird, Gaddafi wanted to go off the petrodollar. So did Saddam. Boom. That's a green light for them if you go off the petrodollar. You know, Joe Biden was there for the deportation of 2 million people. He was there for the 5.2 million foreclosures. So he's just, you know, and I know plenty of people like, well, Biden's better than Trump.
Isn't everyone pretty much?
My iPhone with a Batman sticker is better than Trump. So I don't know that it should run for, but with Biden, we'll get more war. We'll get more bank bailouts and deregulation. We'll get, I mean, will we get some environmental policy? We'll get a handful of them, little breadcrumbs, little table scraps to throw out to the environmental base to say, look, I'm not Trump. He deregulated all these things. I'm bringing the regulation back. But it's like, will we have sweeping change? Will we be like, will he come out and say something bold like, we're going to be off of Middle Eastern or off of oil and by 2030? Is he going to make some bold Green New Deal? Nope, no way. And the Green New Deal fixes all of our problems, and he won't do that.
Not a chance. And, you know, that's another thing about Beto. Like, my question is, if he's the white Obama, is he going to like bomb 7 more countries, or just keep bombing the 7 who are already bombing now, or, you know?
Well, yes. I mean, yes to both of those. He'll keep bombing the 8 that we're bombing now. And the difference is, and this is the sickness of the left, is he'll, and as would Biden and Kamala Harris, when they go, we need to go to war with Iran, the left will go, well, you know, I guess we got to now. And it's like, no, we don't. And I would really, that's why I can't act. I mean, and look, I know the military industrial complex is tough, and they're, God only knows what kind of crazy threats they've made to people. I mean, maybe they've threatened Bernie. I don't know. I mean, like, so they're scary and they play pretty hard. I mean, just ask Edward Snowden or Julian Assange how they play.
Right.
So, you know, that's the thing, is what's scary is, I mean, I heard educated people that I like and respect, you know, say when Trump like dropped when he bombed Syria the first time in April of 17, say, well, I mean, you saw the video of them gassing the kids. He kind of had to. I mean, these are people who call themselves liberal, who say they don't like Trump, but that footage was all they needed to go, well, we had to bomb more. And it's like, because there's no loud anti-war message like we had in the 60s and 70s, there's no anti-war movement. Just war is it, whoa, I guess we've been at war for 17 years. Can you imagine we're still fighting Japan and Germany in 1958?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I actually, talking about the 60s and such, I posted an article yesterday that brought back an article from Joe Biden in I believe it was 76. He was making fun of the fact that he wanted nothing to do with the civil rights movement. He was making fun of it. He was saying, yeah, I don't really want to wear tie-dye and stuff. Like, he was proud that he was not helping. So, but I have Black friends. Like, it's one of those things, totally.
Yeah, well, Bernie was getting arrested in the civil rights movement.
Yes.
Bernie was getting arrested. Joe Biden is saying, I want to wear tie-dye because I'm too busy being a rich frat boy.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's incredible. I really, really, really wish people would just do their research. And, you know, people say, you know, cult of personality and stuff, and that exists. And it's frustrating and it's annoying and it's, you know, just so unnecessary. But like the whole Beto thing and stuff, that is a cult of personality. That is, you talk about their record and they're just like, you know, he's cute and he rides a skateboard and he plays guitar. And it's like this whole huge pop star thing, but this is our country. What, you know, as far as the Green New Deal, do you think if we have people like Bernard running and stuff, and he will talk about that on stage, do you think that others will kind of feel obligated to kind of say more progressive things?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so if we look at the Republican Party and the corporate machine, basically have pulled the whole country to the right. The Democrats, because they're bought and paid for too, they move to the right. So what we got to do is out-left them. Like, and so when you have candidates like Ocasio-Cortez and people like that running, they need to pull the party or just politic the political conversation to the left. So the Green New Deal was something that I only heard like Jill Stein and Green Party candidates talk about, right? I didn't hear that in the mainstream media. Now, after Ocasio-Cortez and those other representatives win, and they, when I hear Fox News talking about a Green New Deal and mainstream media talking about this and Medicare for all, like I think that's important, because if we look at as you say, Bernard's tactics, one of his great tactics was the Stop Bezos Act. He introduced that legislation, gave it that name, the Stop Bezos Act. You know, that bill never passed, but he got Amazon to raise their wages to $15 an hour, which is great. Now, Jeff Bezos is no hero. He passed that so he wouldn't have to, his employees wouldn't form a union, which they're trying to do at Whole Foods, another company. So Bezos is no hero, but if you were making $10 an hour, now you're making 15, your life just got better. And that was directly because Bernie Sanders introduced that. He did that as a marketing tactic, and it was a brilliant one to just get
Disney.
And Disney did the same thing with Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So what needs to happen when those things start happening, then we're starting to see labor movements reemerge in this country, or reemerge in this country, because we're talking about labor more now than we have been. And that's part of it, is getting the national discussion. So we need to talk about a Green New Deal. And you know what the Green Party needs to do, in my opinion? They need to go to Texas and red states and say, we have jobs for you. Texas, which has wind farms, which has solar. That's what needs to happen, because look, the Democratic Socialists of America, the state they have opened up the most chapters in the last 2-3 years has been Texas. So once you start explaining the Green New Deal to people and Medicare for all, it's kind of hard for even red staters or diehard Republicans to go, that's just a bunch of liberal hooey. It's like, well, wait a minute. You know, this helps everybody. Everyone gets a job. Everyone gets health care. Okay. You'd be amazed how people will become environmentalists when you give them a job and health care and college tuition.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's always so fascinating. It's like the people who voted for Trump because they say that they wanted to stop Obamacare, and then they realized they had the Affordable Care Act, and it's the same fucking thing.
Yep.
So it's, you know, it's people just not being educated and what have you. But the thing that Byrne did that I just love so much is he did those 2 town halls in Trump country, and he spoke with them, and so many of them were like, we would have voted for you. Like, we didn't vote for Hillary. We would have voted for you. And still to this day, you'll meet Republicans who are like, I would vote for Bernie. Because he's talking to all of them. You know, he's talking to everyone. Well, and he has bipartisan support, which is the #1 thing. Like the bill today. He wrote that with a Republican.
I know. And that's why, like, if he runs again and Tulsi's his VP, I think a young VP who used to be a vet, who's also a woman, is he too old? Well, we have someone that, should he die in office, who's like, and I don't mean to be rude or callous, but
no,
like,
I know.
These are the questions you have to ask when you're talking to the president. Like, that's what the VP is. They're a heartbeat away from Oval Office. So you have to ask, like, so when, like, Tim Kaine, I don't want him anywhere near the White House. I don't want him near anything other than like running a community center or something. Like, I don't. That might be weird. But that's the thing too that people forget. So the left, or the Hillary supporters or neoliberals, focus always on Trump's racist, xenophobic rhetoric. Not that isn't, I mean, that is something to be, like, I was concerned there was people doing Nazi salutes at his rallies, and he's still talking that. He's still to this day saying that's not a small item, but they overlooked. They should have also, not one or the other, but in addition to, should have looked at Trump's populist message. He was the only guy talking to the white working class primarily and saying, you've all been lied to, and no one talked to you, and Obama promised hope and change, and he didn't deliver. He was the only one that talked to them, and Hillary called them deplorable.
Right.
And oh shocker, they said, fuck this, and it's like, that's the thing. Bernie would win. he would win if he's president. So I think, and he would change this country, because what would happen, you know, friends of mine say, yeah, but if Bernie would have won, would he have gotten anything done? I go, and Congress and the Senate are so effective right now. And then yeah. I would say, when you have a progressive president, let's say he gets into office and the Senate stays Republican as it is now, and the House stays Democrat. So what are we going to get done? It'd be easy. Bernie would say, I'm trying to pass this and this and this. And the Republican Senate says no. The next midterm, it'd be all progressives. And he'd go, I'm going to get everything done. Yep. And he would be like FDR and just pass this thing and this thing and this thing, the thing we thought Obama was going to do that he didn't. And I think it would be amazing. So I hope, you know, because I don't see any other real progressives stepping up.
And another thing is, he plants the seed a lot. So even if people, well, they do call him the Amendment King. They've called him that for years because he's passed more legislation than any other person in Congress in history. So, and he's the only independent, and he's the most popular person in Congress. But the reason for that is because what's that?
He's a senator. He's not in Congress.
Oh, yeah, that's, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments at the same time. But, yeah, the reason he was voted that is because of Republicans and Democrats were asked, and they both voted that way. But I think planting the seed is what's the most important, because he made Medicare for All a household term and stuff. And because of what he taught people, millions of people who didn't know what that was, we protested all across the country and made that bill fail when Trump was trying to, you know, get rid of Obamacare, and all these people were going to be thrown off of healthcare, as, you know, as flawed as it is. But he, you know, we just need one or two voices on the inside to, like, I had Congressman Ro Khanna on for the third time last week. He has great ideas, and he is trying so hard. He came out with, last year he came out with a legislation to have people in Congress sign if they agreed not to take any more big money. Including himself, there's 6 signatures. Now, I said, well, Kamala comes out and says she won't take any anymore. He said, no, I asked her to sign. She won't sign it. There you go. You know, it's just, and I'm gonna call them out on that. You know what I mean? And be like, I did the other day, and I tagged Ro, and I was like, shit, I don't want to call him out, but dude, like, look, it's incredible. You say you're not going to. Here's your coworker, lack of a better term, and all you have to do is sign that, and you'll get so many more votes right there. Can't do it.
That's the problem with the corporate Democrats and the Democratic Party in general. The reason why they just won't ever really get behind progressives is because the minute if they were to really become a progressive party, then that corporate gravy train goes away. Now, it's short-sighted, because if you got rid of the corporate money, the people would be giving you all of this money. But, you know, they've been so bought and paid for so long, they don't even know how to operate without it.
Right. And then what do you think about Pelosi and the way so many people, progressives, folded, and just like, she was endorsed by Trump? You know, it's like, you talk about hating Trump 24/7, and then you're like, go Pelosi, even though he just endorsed her. What's her name? Seattle. Well, she's from Washington. Not Sawan. Pramila. She was the first one to be like, I endorse Nancy Pelosi. Now, she's supposed to be the head of the Medicare for All caucus. Nancy Pelosi doesn't support Medicare for All. So why? they have no leverage now whatsoever because they've already endorsed her. How does that make sense?
Well, it shows you, this is my critique or criticism of many progressives or people who call themselves progressives, or even the Progressive Caucus, is that they always buckle. I say this a lot. The Tea Party, I don't agree with the Tea Party. A lot of their actual tactics I don't like or respect, but their resolve in not backing down, that's the way the Progressive Caucus, not some of the offensive things, but just the way the Tea Party goes, no, you better put our stuff on your platform or we're walking. Like, they were going to form their own party if the Republicans didn't play ball with them. And that's what progressives need to do. Progressives need to really just say no. Well, let's acquiesce and bipartisan. And just look what happens. Chuck Schumer, sure, will give you money for a wall. I mean, just like they just sell us out left and right. And progressives, like, there's not enough progressives saying, that's it. I'm walking. I'm out of here. And then they wonder why the Democratic Party got their ass handed to them in 2016. 1,000 state seats they lost. How many governorships did they lose? I mean, just on down the line. And Trump is so beatable. He's so some of his own supporters are seeing his bullshit. You know, the fact that he promised all these jobs. I mean, he gave a bailout they just had to give a bailout to farmers because of his trade war with China. And a lot of these farmers were saying in interviews, they're like, we voted for this cat and they're ready to go. The people who were anti-interventionist, and Trump ran on a very anti-interventionist campaign. And they're like, wait a minute, he's bombing Syria? What's going on? I'm out of here. So if the Democrats if the progressives within the Democratic Party just said, no, we're done. We're not backing down, or we're walking. We're hijacking this whole party, or we're going to all of us together are leaving to join the Green Party or something, or form a People's Party, or whatever it would look like, and actually say we're going to do it and threaten to do it and mean it, then things would change. But then they just, well, Pelosi's battle tested and
No, the new thing was she schooled Trump because when she walked outside, she had sunglasses on. That's the new thing. Her power outfit made it all the more like that's what we've come to.
I saw so many people on Twitter go, she's battle tested. I go, battle tested to sell us out for corporate money? Is that what she's battle tested at doing? Making sure we don't have Medicare for all because she gets all this money from the healthcare lobby? What are you talking about? She's the worst. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel for you being a man because I get called a sexist all the time, so I can imagine.
I mean, it's just like, I can't, like, I'm half tempted to create a fake profile that's just like a, Latino transgender woman that and then call them all out just so they can't,
Yeah, like whatever they accuse you of being, be like, I'm part whatever.
All of them.
I'm literally a mixture of every ethnicity in the universe.
I know.
Well, that's like, when people say, I've been seeing a lot of memes that are like, we need to do what's in France and what they've done in so many. I mean, the Europeans know how to get shit done. I mean, they don't just protest in the hundreds. They literally, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, all over Europe. It's freaking impressive as hell. And they're saying, we should do that in the US. But the problem is our biggest march is one day a year, and they'd rather be at brunch, and they have coffee mugs with, prints on them that say, you know, that have pussy hats, and people wear vagina costumes, and like that's the biggest march we have each year. Then honestly, many of them do nothing. What's that?
Yeah. And it's on a Saturday.
And it's on a Saturday, and they have police escorts, and nobody marches in the street because you got to march on the sidewalk and you got to get permits. And then you have people like Rendon Speak, who, you know, killed Medicare for All because he's very woman friendly, you know, and it's just, it's a corporatist thing. It's so that's why what's happening in France will not happen here.
Well, there's also this factor too, which is, so in France, they have free healthcare like most European countries. So in America, you got to get good healthcare from your employer. So it's, you're going to be less inclined to strike because you're going to lose your healthcare. And God forbid, if you got diabetes or you got a kid with asthma or a spouse with battling cancer or something like that, or any sort of pre-existing condition, you're done. Or the, you know, the pre-existing condition of being female. It's more expensive. Healthcare is more expensive in America if you're a woman. That should be the #1 feminist battle cry.
Absolutely.
Like that group should be screaming for Medicare for all more than anyone. And it's like, so there's a system already in place to make it detrimental for us to actually walk out of jobs or shut things down. And then then there's the apathy that we've been fed for decades, which is that sign.
Right.
That was so funny. If Hillary would want to be at brunch right now, well, that's the problem. Everyone went to brunch for years, and like no one is realizing how messed up the system is. And in France, so they had a 2,000 city coordinated strikes, and in a country that is smaller than Texas. And like, imagine if we just had 2,000 strikes or protests or walkouts or marches, you know, nationwide. I mean, here's the thing that I do, where I do see we have some potential here, where I see some hope, is the teacher strikes last year. We're in 3.
I was just thinking of that.
Right?
Yep.
They shut stuff down. It was not comfortable. It was not fun, but they had to do it. And guess what? They got heard. You know, I had a friend who lives in Arizona, and so his kids were affected by this teacher strike. And there was an email that got sent around saying, hey, there's a bunch of kids who get free meals through the school and they can't eat. And my buddy goes, what, how bad do we have to, how bad are things in this country and in the state of Arizona specifically, where there's people who don't have the money to feed their kids unless they get a lunch from school? Like, how far have we lost it? And they got a lot of their concessions met, not all of them. You could, you know, debate the fine points of these 3 states, but the point is they shut stuff down. Like the Women's March, I'm glad they're trying to make it more of a anti-war march, but like, you got to stop having them on Saturdays. The March for Our Lives, the high school kids, I got so much respect for those kids. But guess what? The next time there's a mass school shooting, and I hate to say this, but there will be one, which is awful.
Sure.
Nothing has changed. No new laws have been put in place. We're not addressing mental illness. Nothing has changed. So the next time there's a mass shooting, guess what, kids? Walk out of school on a Monday and say,
absolutely,
back to school, like, and until you guys fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's too much organization with stuff. It's like I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, so I have the Harrisburg Capitol steps right there, and I have the governor's office right there, who knows me quite well by now, and things like that. So I use it to my advantage. But, you know, lately it's been more, do you have permits to do this? And no, dude, I don't give a fuck about permits. I don't care. I don't. You know, this is grassroots. This is about trying to accomplish something. It's all very organized.
There's also a lot of ways to protest, right? So I watched, and I did a video on this about the yellow vest. So this has been going on for 3 weeks. One of the things they've been doing is they go to this toll booth to go to Marseille, and it's something like 350 euros. And this toll booth, it's some ridiculous amount of money. And they go there and they raise it, and everyone gets to drive through for free. And it's like, because the state doesn't get that money anymore. They're like, we're going to send Macron this bill. They joked. And I'll give you another strike. The Japanese bus drivers in Tokyo, their union wanted more. So they were like, Japan is about honor and, very respectful of the elderly in the Asian culture. It was like older people need to get to work and the medical appointments. Shutting down the buses is not right. So one day they all organized, everyone rode the bus for free. They didn't charge anybody. Nope. And the city bus was like, whoa, we just lost $1 million or whatever it was in revenue. And they were like, this will keep happening until we get our needs met.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of creative ways people need to tell those in power. And there's not two parties. There's two classes. There's the ruling class and then all of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the teachers, I believe it was West Virginia, but they felt so bad for the kids who do get free lunch when they're there. So they made like over 200 bag lunches and went to every single house. Like each teacher took like 20. And I mean, it just shows how beautiful these people are and how this is how you make a change. It's inspiring.
It's inspiring. It warms my heart. Like it brings a tear to my eye to hear that story. And it shows me, and should show all of us, like there is so much hope and potential for getting things fixed for the better. There's so many people willing to do that. I'm a teacher. I got to go on strike, but I also understand that my strike is going to have some short-term negative effects on people. So if I'm not, let's all make lunches. Like that's the unifying, like, let's all get in this together and realize that the ruling class, the 1%ers, they're jamming us up. It's not foreigners. It's not liberals or conservatives. It's not men or women or this group or that group. It's them, the ruling class. And the ruling class now is more skilled than ever at dressing themselves up with diversity. Condoleezza Rice, wow, so diverse that she has an oil tanker named after her. Hillary, I'm with her. Oh, she's a rich white lady. She's the ruling class. Like
but she carries hot sauce.
Oh, she's so one of us. Like that was so choreographed. Like this will get the black vote. Put that in your purse. It was so.
And then the guy said, "Why? Did you pander? Was that pandering?" And she goes, "I don't know. Did it work?" Oh, I'm so bummed. I said I'd let you go at 10, but thank you so much. You're freaking awesome. I could talk to you forever. You're amazing, and you're just witty and intelligent and smart. And see, now Ron's gonna get jealous because I'm always like, I love you and you're amazing. And I have a habit of doing that, but you're awesome. Do you want to plug your show and any upcoming events you have or anything?
Absolutely. Well, Joy, you're awesome. This is a really cool show. I love that you call Bernie Bernard. It's so endearing. It's so adorable. It's just like you're his aunt or something. Bernard. Now here's
Bernard.
Yeah. You're the aunt that always has candies in her purse that she gives
and tissues in her pocket.
Yeah. Tissues out of her It's adorable. I would ask everybody, please go to, so if you go to grahamelwood.com, you can get my show, Political Vigilante. It's a YouTube show. It's also a podcast on iTunes. My Patreon is there. It's a great way to support independent media. I say cut your cable, save that money that you're paying the cable companies, and support shows like yours and mine. And Ron's and other shows like that. Jimmy Dore support those shows. And then, of course, the Progressive Comedy Tour. So starting in January, Ron and I are going to do one of those a month. So in January, we're going to Florida. January 9th, we're going to Gainesville. The 10th, we're going to Coral Gables. The 11th, we're going to Orlando. The 12th, we're going to Jacksonville. And then we're going to be doing that once a month. We're going to Salt Lake City. We're going to all these cool places, Texas. We're going, so go to grahamelwood.com. All my social media is there at Graham Elwood. Follow me. There's a lot of ways to like, subscribe, follow. Great ways to support the show. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. You're freaking awesome. You guys, please share this. I have to, unfortunately, go back on hiatus. I have another surgery coming up. And not very expected, unfortunately. So I'll be on hiatus for a little, but I may do some rants here and there. But thank you so much for watching, as always. And again, Graham, thank you so much, and best of luck with everything you do.
Thank you. And just a note, if you watch my YouTube channel, let the ads play. When you click skip ad, I don't get paid. It's a great free way to support the show.
That's a good tip. Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, he's freaking awesome.